I'm Chris Brown from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. I'm a GIS analyst there. I'm going to share with you a story of the Participatory Chinatown project, which I've been lucky enough to work on for the last 4 or 5 months. We are in the process of creating a video game for a planning meeting, a series of planning meetings in Chinatown. So we are going to, in the end, compare these results from the video game planning meeting to the traditional planning meeting, which we hold concurrently through a series of different meetings. So the video game, the whole point is to get people a different way to really get immersive into the planning process in their area. So people can really go in and learn through experience and have a good time. It's just looking at different ways to try to get the same old planning concepts across to everyone. So just to give you an idea of the area that we're working on, the top left you can see the Boston Common, top right State Street building, the southern border is bordered by I-90. Every block with a ping pong ball on it you can see is something that we've actually modeled. It's actually about 22 blocks or so. One thing we learned in this process is that video games are a whole lot of work. You have to do everything from creating a 3D model to coming up with what triangle is going to be shown at what time when you're looking in a certain direction of the game, user interface, avatars, walking around, writing everything that everyone's going to say at any time, potentially, in the game. But we're going to focus on spatial audience. I'm a spatial guy, the 3D environment. So we sat down and thought, why don't we just go online and see if we can download a free model? Why not? We all know the BRA, the Boston Redevelopment Agency, has a model, it's a complete model of the whole city. We go on, I downloaded it, I was all excited to look at it, and it turns out they don't maintain the textures in the buildings, so there's no facades, there's no sides of the buildings. It's also very detailed, which was a drawback for the game because the game really had to be intensive, processing intensive. So then we went to Google Earth. Everybody knows you can click a button in Google Earth and you'll see a model comes up of the whole, many major portions of the US and all over the world. But it turns out something I've never done before, when you really get to street level, it's way too blurry. I mean, they do the oblique images on top of LiDAR, and you can see it gets draped, and sometimes when you have something like an awning or a sign on the street. So it turned out that wasn't our best bet. Who knows if we would have been able to get that anyway. But, so I went into Google 3D Warehouse to see if anyone had uploaded anything. I mean, they have everything from the entire food collection, the guillotine, to Wally. I mean, they must have one model of Chinatown. It turns out they don't. They focus on, they have the John Hancock building and things like that. But nothing in our little place in the world they're trying to model. So our answer was youth with cameras. We got a bunch of digital cameras, and they went out and they photographed every square inch of Chinatown. And they came back and they gave me a file. Every one of these 1,000 pictures. And it was quite a process going from the pictures to actual textures that you can paste around a building. You get all sorts of things in the picture. You get the cars, the people watching the windows, the huge truck covering the whole facade of the building. It's all warped, and you have to stretch it and make it look like a square and make it look good on a building. So it's an interesting process. I definitely learned how to use Photoshop through this. It's a common day in my life. I sit down, there's 4 pictures sitting there, and I kind of just start looking at it, and 4 hours later I walk in my office, eyes burning, and I have a model. Just one example of what that could look like. So for the 3D environment, we actually just took the BRA. They also maintain building footprints. We took a SketchUp, just closed them up, and raised them up to the correct elevation, which is really the best way because you can really simplify your model. You can see the bottom right. You can just put walls in where you shouldn't be able to walk in the game. And in a lot of places, it's really easy to apply these textures to the buildings, but a lot of places it's not. Like this is the underpass near Tufts Medical Center. We're putting the vestibule in, and we haven't even put those pillars in yet. I mean, it's like a very time-intensive process, excavating into these big squares that we started with. Turns out the easiest thing to do is get these models out of SketchUp and into the game environment, working with a company called Muzzy Lane. They have their own proprietary gaming engine, which takes collada files, which SketchUp Pro, $500 later, you just export it right out and we're all set. Turns out not too bad. So some of the final pictures, top left is a nice streetscape in Chinatown. Top right is the Tufts Medical Center. Bottom left is me playing the Google Warehouse again. Fred Flintstone is at McDonald's. So you can check all this out at participatorychinatown.org. I've been trying to blog everything. And we have a Twitter account, we have a Facebook account, social networking like crazy. It's all a proof of concept. We're all documenting everything. So anyone can try to do the same kind of project again, follow our breadcrumbs. We did find the secret hideout, which turns out is on the off-ramp from '93. It's amazing. Chinatown's actually an interesting place to model with. I mean, even the phone booths have a little pagoda on top. And then the bottom right is Chinatown Gate. And I'll finish it with a word of advice: please do not feed the pigeons. Feeding pigeons also feeds the rats. You can see they are having a little picnic together, and this is the advice straight from Chinatown Park. So,